Hey guys, tonight, we're going somewhere most people never talk about. Not heaven, not hell, but the space in between. A realm older than stars, colder than stone. This is not a parable. This is not a metaphor. This is the moment death got nervous. Forget the clean Sunday school version. The robe, the halo, the soft light. This is what really happened after the cross. Not peace, not stillness, a descent. And it wasn't quiet, it was war. Because when he died, he didn't stay dead. He walked into the depths of darkness, not to visit, but to take over. And what happened down there changed everything. But before you get too cozy, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this strange little corner of quiet storytelling. And drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's strangely comforting to know who else is drifting off with us around the world. Now get comfortable, let the day melt away, and we'll drift back together into the quiet corners of the past. Your throat is raw. Your skin is torn. The sky above you churns, dimming like a candle in an empty room. The last sound you hear is someone weeping, or laughing, or both. The Roman spear has already found your side, but it's not the metal that kills you. It's the weight. All of it. You inhale one last time. The air tastes like blood and vinegar and ash. You say the words, not in fear, not in weakness, but like someone finishing a vow. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And just like that, you let go. But you do not disappear. The crowd fades. The light fades. The earth slips away as if it were a costume falling from your shoulders. You do not float upward. You descend. Not like falling through air. Not like sinking in water. There is no direction here. Only depth. And stillness. And a silence so thick it hums against your skin. You pass the veil between flesh and spirit, between the world of nails and the world of chains. The dead know this road, but they do not walk it like this. There are no trumpets, no throne, no angels waiting with open arms. Not yet. What waits for you is far older and far darker. The deeper you go, the less gravity matters, the less time matters. And yet you feel time, stretched like a rope under tension. 3 days, it will be said. But already eternity watches you like a held breath. You land, or rather, you arrive, on something solid, not stone, not soil. It remembers too much. The ground here has tasted too many regrets to be called anything but haunted. It's cold. Not the cold of winter, but the cold of endings. Around you. Shadow. The kind that doesn't come from lack of light, but from the presence of grief. Every inch of it is soaked in the residue of death. Not loud, not screaming, just waiting. Heavy, familiar, and it recognizes you. You walk. Each footstep doesn't echo. It disturbs. The silence here isn't passive. It resents being broken, but you break it anyway. Something moves far ahead. You don't turn toward it. You don't need to. Everything here already knows who you are. You are not glowing. You are not crowned. You are not wielding thunder. You are still, calm, and dangerous. They thought you would stay dead. The powers that whisper in this place. The ones who haven't looked toward heaven in millennia. They thought the cross was a trap you couldn't escape. But here you are. And their silence is louder now. Somewhere above, they are wrapping your body in linen. They are rushing because the sun is nearly gone. They are crying. They don't know what you're doing right now. They wouldn't believe it if they did. You walk deeper. The temperature doesn't change. The air doesn't shift. But something ancient begins to notice. The quiet here is built on structure, on hierarchy. There are watchers, judges, wardens. All of them built for one thing: containment. But you are not containable. Your steps are slow, but not hesitant. You are not rushing. You're giving the darkness time to realize what's happening. And it does. The walls seem to bend just slightly. The shadows inch backward. There is no sun here, no flame, but somehow your presence casts light. Behind you, nothing follows. Ahead of you, something waits, but even it trembles. You've been here before, in a way. You've dreamed it, glimpsed it, prophesied it. You've spoken of Jonah, 3 days in the belly of the great fish. You spoke those words not for metaphor, but for this. You are in the belly now, not of a beast, of a kingdom, the kingdom of death. Its halls are carved in sorrow, its gates made of memory. Every wall is mortared with regret. This place has held the worst of humanity for ages, and the best too, waiting on the other side of the great divide. They don't know yet, but you're here for them. You keep walking. The texture of this place changes with every step. You pass through layers of despair, some dense with hatred, others brittle with shame. Here lie kings forgotten by time, murderers who never felt guilt, children who died crying for their mothers, men who mocked heaven with their last breath, all of them filed and sealed, until now, one of the lower guards sees you. Not a man, not really. A shape, a watcher, a relic of an older rebellion. It freezes. Its eyes, if you can call them that, flicker. It does not speak. It does not draw a weapon. It understands immediately. It has nothing that can stop you. You don't slow. You descend further. Somewhere above, the stone has been rolled in front of your tomb. Somewhere, soldiers joke and yawn and wonder how much longer they'll have to stand in the dark. They think the danger is behind them. But the earthquake hasn't even started. And the one thing this world doesn't know yet is that you're not finished. Not even close. You descend without moving. You pass through space without crossing distance. There is no path here, no floor or sky, only the sensation of plunging, endlessly, through something dense and conscious. You do not fall. You are received. The air isn't air. It doesn't move. It presses in. It listens. It knows you. You arrive in a place older than stars, older than fire, older than the idea of beginning. It has no name. Or rather, it has too many names, none of them comforting. Some called it Sheol. Others, Hades. A few, simply, the pit. But the place does not care what it's called. It only cares who enters. And now, you have entered. The atmosphere thickens around you, not with fog, but with memory. Regret has a scent here. Fear has shape. The walls aren't made of stone. They're made of stories no one wanted to remember. You touch nothing, and still everything recoils. There is no welcome, no challenge, just a single, universal reaction. Recognition. You are not the first to come here, but you are the first to come like this. You step forward. The surface beneath you, whatever it is, shifts in response. Not with sound, but with a subtle quake, as if it remembers other footsteps that never walked with authority. This place was built for the defeated, not for someone like you. You breathe, not because you need to, but because you choose to. The motion itself makes the shadows lean back. In this place, even the air is afraid of you. It is not empty, not by any stretch. All around you, souls press against the edges of existence. Some lost, some waiting, some still angry about how it all ended. Their thoughts brush against your presence, like moths, too frightened to burn. They do not speak. They observe. They measure your silence. Something below flinches. It is not a creature. Not exactly. It is older than anything still standing above the earth, one of the ancient ones, a remnant. It doesn't have eyes, but it sees you, and it is not ready. You walk forward, slowly, purposefully. You do not hurry. You are letting the weight of your arrival settle in. This realm knows hierarchy. It knows the scent of rebellion, of murder, of pride. But it has never known authority like this. You feel the strata of death beneath your feet. Not layers of dirt, but layers of judgment. Entire civilizations lost and shelved here. Their kings, priests, warriors, liars. All of them still echoing in the walls, unaware they're not alone anymore. You are not just passing through. You came for something. No one told them this would happen. The broken ones, the watchers, the buried gods, all of them believed the story would end at the cross, that the grave was enough to hold you. They were wrong. You pause near a jagged opening in the black. It isn't a door, but it feels like one. Something behind it breathes, not with lungs, but with centuries of waiting. The breath is sour, heavy. It wants to ask who you are, but it already knows. It's just trying to remember when it lost. You keep moving. The silence here grows crowded. Behind the walls, voices stir. Some curse, some pray, some weep into nothing, not knowing they're being heard for the first time in ages. The sound of your movement is not loud, but it is unmistakable. You are walking where the dead forgot to hope. There are watchers now, shadows with limbs, shapes with names written in languages long buried. They keep their distance, not because they're bound, but because they're afraid of what will happen if they get close. One of them tries. He slithers, half-formed, toward the edge of your path. You turn your head slightly. That's all. And he collapses, not in pain, but in memory. He remembers what you are. You say nothing. Not yet. You descend deeper, not by slope or stair, but by command. The realm parts, not willingly, not joyfully, but inevitably. You are not invading. You are reclaiming. Up above, the stone is sealed. The women are preparing spices they will never use. The guards have no idea what they're guarding. The tomb is quiet, but not empty. Not anymore. The air thickens further, like oil soaked with centuries of rot. Even the torments here pause. The condemned feel it, something foreign, something holy, leaking through their cages. They don't dare speak your name, but they want to. Their throats remember. You pass by an alcove carved from shame. Inside it sits a king who built empires on bones. He looks up. His eyes have no light, but for a moment, they widen. He doesn't bow, but he doesn't look away either. You do not stop. The structures here grow strange. Geometry bends, corridors loop, doorways lead nowhere. This place was not designed for freedom. It was designed to contain. And now it struggles to hold its shape. The very laws that bind it are unraveling, thread by thread, because you are here and you are not bound by them. Somewhere, something screams, not out of pain, but out of anticipation. The moment they feared is arriving. The promise whispered, since Eden is walking. And you are only just beginning. You walk deeper, and the underworld groans beneath your feet, not with anger, not with protest, but with the slow, cracking tension of recognition. This realm was not built to hold you. It was built to cage others, the ones who failed before the flood swallowed their rebellion. And now you're walking into their prison, like a name spoken aloud after too long in silence. The groan echoes up the ribcage of the pit. It travels through walls not made of stone but of judgment, through corridors where no voices speak anymore. And yet something hears, something ancient, something chained. They stir. They have not stirred in millennia. You do not pause. You do not call them. Your steps are the invitation. They feel you. Not your body, not your face, but the pressure of something they hoped never to face again. You are not light. You are not fire. You are weight. And the weight is justice. In a pocket of darkness so deep even the condemned avoid it, the first one shifts. Its form has no center, no end. A limb twitches. An eye opens, though it does not need to see. Its awareness is older than human memory, and what it feels now is impossible. It should be impossible. But you are here. These are not men. They are not demons, either. Not in the way mortals picture them. They are the Watchers, the sons of rebellion, the ones who crossed thresholds not meant to be crossed, who took and corrupted, who fell not out of ignorance, but out of arrogance. They remember the sky. They remember the presence. They remember the sound of God's voice before they turned from it. And now, they feel that voice again, carried in your steps. You walk past a broken gate with no lock, because whatever lived behind it never needed one. The thing inside cowers. It has never bowed, but it does not rise to meet you. It has nothing to offer. You are not what they expected. They watched your life from afar, or heard whispers of it. How you were born into flesh, how you suffered, how you bled. They thought you were vulnerable. They thought the crucifixion proved it. But here, in this place where flesh has no power, they see the mistake. You were not overpowered. You descended. And they, these ancient, pride-wrapped things, they don't know what you're here for. And that terrifies them more than if they did. One of them tries to rise. It has no true name anymore, only what it was called in the days before the flood. Its prison is made of thought and silence and chains forged from divine decree. It has waited for this moment, hoped it would never come. But now that it has, it can't help but test the edge. It lifts its head. You don't stop. You don't speak. It collapses again. The others begin to murmur, not aloud, but in frequencies that shake the bones of the dead. Their voices are discordant, stitched from languages that no longer exist. They ask each other what you are. Some think you've come to release them. Some think you've come to condemn them. But none believe you're just passing through. Their cells quake as you draw nearer. Not because of proximity, but because the realm itself bends in your direction. You are not moving through the underworld. The underworld is bending around you. You pass through a hall that was carved by sorrow. Here, the air is thicker, the silence more loaded. Spirits press against the walls, not the rebellious, but the boundless. Giants once born of unholy union, whose breath once shook mountains. Their forms are shadows now, but their pride, it still simmers. Even that pride begins to wither. You are not fire. You are not sword. You are verdict. Somewhere far behind you, something flees. Not to escape. There is nowhere to run. But flight is instinct, and instinct is all that remains for many down here. You stop at the edge of a vast chasm that isn't space. It's division. Across it, a pit within the pit. Its bottom is unreachable, its walls lined with memory, not rock. This is where the first rebellion was buried alive, where chains were fastened not to bodies, but to intentions. The Watchers know you've reached them. They feel the nearness like a tremor in the roots of their being. One of them screams, not a sound, but an inversion, a tearing of something ancient and invisible. It screams because it remembers your father. It screams because it remembers the mountain, the fire, the smoke. It screams because for the first time since it fell, it fears being seen. You look down, and though you say nothing, they hear you. Not words, a presence, a reminder that what was done in rebellion will not be forgotten, and that what has been conquered does not need to announce itself. You walk on, and their terror follows behind you. The chamber is deeper than anything above could imagine, far beneath bones, beneath memory, beneath even judgment itself. It isn't built, it isn't carved. It simply exists, like a bruise in the fabric of reality. You walk into it, and it resists you. Not with violence, but with old habit. This place was meant to hold, not to welcome, and certainly not to surrender. But surrender it must. You reach the center, not by map, not by torchlight, but by inevitability. Everything here knew you'd arrive eventually. They've spent lifetimes pretending otherwise. But now you're standing in the one place no one ever escapes, and you're not here to be kept. A low vibration pulses through the chamber. It's not sound. It's something older. Recognition. Again, but this time with panic clinging to it. The architecture groans, not from age, but from fear. The very structure of the underworld knows what's about to happen. Its ceiling shudders, its walls lean in, and still, no one dares stop you. The altar is not an altar. It's a pedestal, crooked and etched with languages that no one above remembers. Symbols of dominion, of imprisonment, of the oldest rules ever spoken. Upon it, a single object waits. It does not shine. It does not glow. It doesn't need to. The keys. They are not polished, not ceremonial. They are jagged, irregular, worn by centuries of misuse. They were forged in judgment. They have passed through hands unworthy to hold them, hands that used them to lock away, to dominate, to threaten. But they were never theirs. They were always yours. You step closer. The shadows hesitate, not because they want to run, but because some part of them wants to watch, just to see if it's real, if the stories, the rumors, the old panic, that one day someone would come and take back what was stolen, are true. You reach out your hand. The moment you touch the keys, the chamber reacts. Not with explosion, not with thunder, with a sigh. A deep, guttural exhale that seems to pour out of the walls themselves, as if something that's been holding its breath for 10,000 years has finally let go. The silence breaks. The keys rattle in your palm, not from your grip, but from recognition. They tremble like prisoners hearing their true name spoken. For the first time in ages, they're being held by someone they cannot disobey. Your fingers close around them. Chains far off begin to shift. You hear it distantly. Metal groaning. Locks clicking open in places you haven't yet stepped. It isn't chaos, it's response. The locks are not being broken. They are unlocking themselves. Because they know. The weight of your authority moves faster than your footsteps. Entire corridors respond before you reach them. And deeper still, other beings stir. Not watchers, not the damned, but those who have waited in silence, who sat in peace, but never truly rested, whose hope was never fully answered. They feel the tremor too. The warden has changed. You walk back through the passage, keys cold in your hand, but cold like metal left untouched too long. Not like death. They hum softly. You don't look at them. You don't need to. You are not testing their power. You are reclaiming it. Behind you, the pedestal collapses into itself, not in protest, in resignation. You walk past a column of watchers, frozen in the half-light. None speak. One tries, but the sound never leaves its throat. They can feel the keys, even from across the chasm. They feel their weight, their finality. The verdict has entered the room. You do not speak to them. You do not warn them. You are not here for their permission. You are not here to explain anything. You are here to open doors. Somewhere above, a stone remains rolled across your tomb. Soldiers fidget. The sky bruises. A woman cries into folded linen. but something in the air has shifted. The silence above does not match the silence below. Here, in this cavern that has swallowed prophets and prisoners and prideful kings, the rules are changing. You move again, slowly, intentionally, and the sound follows. The drag of a chain losing tension, the snap of a lock slipping open without a hand to turn it, the murmur of those who thought they'd been forgotten forever. You reach another wall, this one unmarked. It bears no runes, no warnings, only a faint shimmer in the surface, like heat above stone. You press the key against it. It doesn't click. It doesn't resist. It dissolves. Beyond it lies no prison, no torment, only quiet, a deeper quiet. Not the silence of dread, but of waiting. A different kind of soul resides here, and they are already standing. You step through. The keys now rest at your side, but their work has only begun. You came not just to claim, you came to release. And the captives are ready. He sees you. He doesn't come rushing forward. He doesn't roar or snarl or bare teeth sharpened by myth. No. He watches, quiet as a coiled thought. From the dark edge of the realm, beyond the smoke-thick curtain of pride, he leans just enough to catch the shimmer of your silhouette. And he realizes what he's looking at. The smirk is still there, hanging crooked on his face like a mask he forgot how to take off. It's cracked now, twisting at the edges. Not broken, but shifting. Because the arrogance that held it in place has started to rot. You're not supposed to be here. That's the first thing in his mind, unspoken and sharp. This wasn't the plan. He watched the cross. He saw the wounds, the blood, the silence. He heard the final breath. He felt the light go out. He thought he'd won. He didn't laugh out loud. He doesn't waste joy. But he allowed himself the smirk, the twitch of satisfaction that maybe, just maybe, the promise wouldn't hold. But now, you're here, and you're walking like someone who was never stopped, like someone who died, only to finish what was interrupted. He watches your pace. It's slow, purposeful, not a parade, not a march, just forward, like gravity finally works in reverse for you, pulling everything toward your presence. The silence between you stretches. It's not empty. It's dense, packed with memory. He's old enough to feel every ripple of prophecy around you, every ancient echo still alive in the air you walk through. He doesn't speak. Not because he doesn't have words, but because he doesn't know which ones wouldn't tremble. He thought he understood you. For years he followed your path through flesh and dust, waiting for the contradiction, for the moment you would step out of sync with the words written about you. But you never did. You never wavered. You never cracked. And now you're in his house, carrying authority that bends the ceiling. The fear doesn't show. Not yet. He's too old, too practiced, to let it rise to his face all at once. But it's there, under the smirk, under the slow, almost lazy shift of posture as he leans from the shadow and pretends it's nothing. He can feel the keys. Not just the sound, the weight, the shift, the power. He saw them once, long ago, before they were taken, before chains and gates and dominions formed like scar tissue across the unseen world. He remembers the authority they represent, and how long it's been since he held any claim to them. And now they're in your hand. He doesn't reach for them. He wouldn't dare. You don't speak. You don't acknowledge him. Not directly. You don't glare or posture or point. You simply walk, and in doing so, declare everything he didn't want to hear. That it started. That it never ended. That the crucifixion wasn't surrender. It was entry. He shifts again, just slightly, as if adjusting some invisible cloak around himself. But you see through it. You always have. You see the hollowness beneath the pride, the dust inside the illusion. The crumbling architecture of his kingdom, that's already fracturing from within. He opens his mouth, just barely. You know what he wants to say. A taunt, a half-truth, maybe even a question. Are you here for them? Are you here for me? But he swallows it, because he already knows the answer. You are not here to barter. You are not here to punish. You are here to take back. His domain is silent now. Every whisper has curled into corners. Every spirit that once mimicked his defiance now stares at the floor. He stands alone in the flickering dark, his followers too afraid to move, too stunned to flee. He is still their king, but only because no one else wants the crown. You pass within reach. He doesn't move. He could, if it were only your body. If it were only blood and breath and bruised lungs, he might try. But what you carry with you is not mortal anymore. It's thunder and silence. It's fire that doesn't burn. And most dangerous of all, it's finished. He watches you pass. Eyes still fixed, hands still, but inside, panic. Because you haven't even looked at him. And that's the part that burns. He was the highest, the first, the beautiful, the bearer of light. And now, the one he tried to extinguish doesn't even bother to look his way. You've already won. You haven't even started. But he knows how this ends. He's always known. And this time, there's no bargain. Only keys. Only silence. Only the smirk, twisting into dread. The corridor narrows as you walk, not in width, but in purpose. The path isn't carved from stone. It's made from memory. Every step is a reminder. Every wall, a record. The air grows heavier here, thicker than breath, soaked with the long, slow drip of punishment. No wind stirs. No time passes. But everything waits. You enter the hall of prisoners. They line the walls like statues, but they are not still. They shift subtly in their chains. Those chains not made of metal, but of sentence, bound not by force, but by decree. Their forms flicker between what they once were and what they've become. Some tall and flame-eyed, others collapsed into themselves, more ash than shape. These are not common souls. These are not ordinary dead. They are the twisted, the rebellious, the ancient. They knew what they were doing. They remember the skies, how they used to open without sound, how light once folded around them like armor. They remember the days when obedience wasn't a burden. They remember singing, and they remember the silence that followed the first no. You walk slowly, and they watch you, not with curiosity, with certainty. They don't need to guess who you are. You are what they were warned about, what they mocked, what they believed would never come. Some whisper. The words curl through the air like smoke and shatter before they reach you. Not curses, not apologies, just confusion. Because you shouldn't be here. You died. They saw it, felt it. The tremor in the pit when your spirit passed through. The underworld inhaled as one, thinking it had swallowed something eternal. And for a moment, they believed the lie again, that death could hold you. But now you walk past their cages, and every inch of their hope rots on contact. You are not visiting. You are reclaiming. One of them moves, a slow turn of the head. The sound of his chain groaning is like rust given voice. He was called great once, a builder of cities, a teacher of forbidden things. His followers lit fires in your father's name, thinking they could contain his power in shapes and sounds. His face is hollow now, his eyes black and endless. But he knows you. He knew you before you came, and he fears what your silence means. You don't speak. You let them look. Another stirs. She is less form than flame now, her presence fractured across dimensions, her name erased by flood and judgment, but her defiance still simmers under her skin. She leans forward, testing the edge of her restraint. not to break free, just to feel you up close. The judgment, the authority. She burns hotter, then dims. She remembers the flood, not the water, the weeping, the silence after. She remembers the way the light closed the door of the ark and how the heavens grew quiet, not because the war was over, but because it had only begun. And now she sees you, the reason for the silence, the reason for the flood. Not wrath, not vengeance, restoration. That's what terrifies them the most. You were never here for destruction. Not like them. You came to restore, to redeem, to unlock what was sealed and lift what was buried. They came to conquer. You came to recover. But not for them. Never for them. Their eyes follow you. Some plead, not with words but with presence. A slow press of the spirit against the bars of divine justice. Others withdraw into their corners, unwilling to meet your gaze, still proud even now. But you look straight ahead. You are not cruel. You are not cold. You are final. The hall narrows further, as if recoiling. The darkness gathers tightly around your shoulders, trying to smother the edges of your light, but it fails. Not because your light is blinding, but because it is earned. They can feel it in your steps. Every wound you took, every betrayal, every lash, every nail. The agony carved into your frame like prophecy fulfilled. They see it now. They see the story wasn't myth. It was invasion. And you didn't come alone. Behind you, beyond the veil they cannot pierce, another movement begins. A rumble through the spiritual corridors. A stir among the faithful. The just are rising. And these rebels can do nothing but watch. One tries to speak. Not in defiance. In terror. But your steps drown him out. You pass the last cell. A black cube of judgment wrapped in symbols too ancient for time. Whatever is inside doesn't move. It knows better. You pass, and the chains tighten. The hall of prisoners watches you disappear into the next chamber, and in your wake, nothing returns to silence. Because silence, now, belongs to you. The chamber opens like a wound, wide, hollow, ringing with a sound that has no origin, just pressure against the spirit, like an ancient choir, inhaling but never exhaling. This is not a place of torment. It is older than that. This is where the first sentence was spoken over rebellion, and where your voice now enters. But you do not preach. There is no sermon, no stories, no invitation. You do not come to persuade. You are not here to plead with the damned or reason with traitors. You did that above. You did that with blood. You did that with silence. Now you are here to say something different, something final. You walk to the center, and the ground does not dare tremble. Even the stones have gone still. The air bends around you, like space itself remembers the sound of its maker, and recognizes it again. They gather, not physically, not with bodies. Those are long rotted or never existed at all. But their awareness coalesces, drawn like iron filings to the magnetic pull of your presence. Spirits, bound, fractured, bitter, press closer in the shadows. Not to attack, not to question, to hear. They don't know what you'll say. They fear it. They need it. For some, it is the sentence they've waited to deny. For others, it is the confirmation of everything they refuse to believe. You open your mouth and speak without speaking. Your proclamation is not made of syllables. It is made of truth, raw and unfiltered, released like light in a room that never knew daybreak. They feel it before they understand it. The cross did not end you. It unchained everything you were. That's all. But it is enough to fracture the atmosphere, because it means the story was never about their rebellion. It means the war they waged, the pride, the mockery, the whispered lies into ears of kings and prophets and priests. It was all a sideshow. You were never trying to hold power. You are power. And the cross wasn't a defeat they exploited. It was a trap you built for them. It means death never owned you. It only borrowed your breath. The sound of your declaration ripples outward, like heat through a frozen world. The deeper halls quake. Cells locked since before Noah feel it. The dust of ruined empires stirs. Even the most silent spirits, those whose rebellion was so deep it had turned to sleep, begin to wake. Not with hope, not with joy, but with the understanding that they were wrong, that you didn't lose. You descended. Because no enemy is truly conquered until you walk through their gate and say, "It's over." You walk past them now, through ranks of shadows that refuse to meet your gaze. Some flinch. Others vanish into folds of the realm, trying to hide where hiding doesn't exist. Their names burn at the edges of reality, curling like scrolls set on fire. Still, you say nothing else. The proclamation needs no repetition. It wasn't information. It was authority. And in its wake, their illusions collapse. The borrowed thrones, the echoing mockeries of creation, the towers they built from pain, all of it begins to sink. You feel it beneath your feet. The foundations they thought were eternal start to weep. A crack splits the wall behind you. It doesn't thunder. It breathes. A sound like stone exhaling. You don't look back. Because you didn't come here to break the place apart. You came to serve notice. The halls of rebellion are no longer sovereign. The pit is no longer sealed. And the one who holds the keys is not interested in permission. You move forward again, leaving behind the proclamation, but not its echo. That will stay. That will hum in the marrow of the condemned. That will stain the air here long after you rise. The spirits recede. Some try to scream. They can't. Some try to speak your name, to twist it, to claim it still means weakness. But your name now carries fire. Your name has passed through blood and returned sharpened. The throne above feels it already. Heaven stirs. The veil that tore still hangs in two pieces. And somewhere far above, angels have stopped singing, not in grief, but in reverence. They too have heard what you just said, not with ears, with existence. You continue. Your voice did not fill the chamber. It became the chamber. And what they heard, what every bound, twisted, ancient thing now knows, is that nothing they did could stop you. The crown of thorns has become a crown of fire. The nail prints, a seal, and the silence now belongs to you. The ground changes beneath your feet. It softens, warms. The air doesn't resist you here. It exhales. The darkness lightens, not from flame, but from memory, from breath held too long by the righteous. You've crossed the boundary not marked by gates or guards, but by mercy, ancient and unfinished. The abyss behind you still hums with the weight of your declaration. Judgment has been spoken, and the condemned tremble in its echo. But ahead of you, a different silence takes form. Not the silence of shame or defeat, but anticipation. You step into the land of waiting. The place has no city, no walls, and yet it is more orderly than any kingdom on earth. No one commands here. No one rules. They simply remain, held in something that looks like rest, but feels more like pause. They rise as you approach, not in panic, not in fear, but like those who sense the promise is waking. Abraham stands first. He does not rush. He does not speak. He rises like a man who has seen many seasons, but has been waiting for one sound. His robe is plain. His eyes are tired, but not empty. They narrow at the edges, and something behind them flickers. Hope restrained for generations. He watches you, But he doesn't move toward you yet. He's waiting. Not for proof, but for certainty. Behind him, David adjusts the edge of his garment, fingers twitching the fold of the cloth he's straightened 1,000 times. He stares, lips parted slightly, as if words are ready but stuck between breath and reverence. His harp is silent. For the first time in centuries, he doesn't feel the need to sing. Ruth whispers, not to anyone in particular, just to the air, to the waiting, to the trembling hush that fills the space around her. Could it be him? The name is not spoken. It doesn't have to be, because the air has already answered. You take another step, and the ground sighs beneath you like soil remembering the weight of purpose. You do not glow. You do not hover. You walk, scarred, real, unchanged. And that is what makes them weep. Joseph blinks, hand to chest, as if to steady a heart that no longer beats. He turns to Moses, whose eyes do not move from you, fixed like stone turned back to flesh. And Moses does not blink. He does not ask questions. He once stood on Sinai, trembling under thunder and fire. He once spoke with your father face to face. But now he sees the fire has stepped into form. Elijah shifts his weight, his mantle brushing the hem of Daniel's robe. The prophet of lions has already dropped to his knees, not in fear, but in awe, a quiet awe that runs deeper than words. They know, all of them, the ones who walked with God, the ones who bled for him, the ones who never saw the promise fulfilled in life, but believed it anyway. They know. You walk into the midst of them, and time folds like paper. They do not cheer. They do not fall flat. They stand, each in their own stillness, eyes locked on you. Their faith has led them here. Their hope kept them whole. And now they see with eyes that were never meant to be blind. You don't speak. You don't need to, because you are the sentence they've been waiting for. You are the promise. Walking. Isaiah steps forward slowly. He opens his mouth, but no prophecy comes out, only breath. Like the final exhale of a man who just witnessed his own vision walk into the room. You reach out your hand, not in command, but in invitation. The atmosphere shifts again, soft and slow and wild, with quiet. These souls, these patriarchs and matriarchs, these saints and prophets, they have known glory in part, glimpsed it in shadows and symbols, but now they are seeing it whole and pierced. The wounds in your wrists are not glowing, but they radiate something heavier than light. Not pain, completion. These are not trophies, they are receipts, and they silence even the boldest of legends. Abraham takes a step forward. He is old, yes, but something in him feels younger now. The waiting has unknotted from his spine. He doesn't ask who you are. He knows. I saw your day, he murmurs, and I rejoiced. You nod. He weeps. Not like a man broken, but like a man fulfilled. The others press closer. Jacob, Deborah, Samuel, Esther, Ezra. Their names once carried kingdoms and laws, battles and scrolls. Now they are simply people. People who hoped. People who endured. People who, for the first time since breath left their bodies, feel release. You stand among them, and the silence wraps around all of you like a cloak. There are no trumpets here, no armies, just the ones who believed you would come. And now, the waiting is over. You look to the far end of the resting place. There is still a gate to open, and they are ready to follow. You stand at the edge of the chasm. It is not marked with fire or lined with bones. There are no signs, no gates, no horns blowing to announce its depth. It is simply there, vast, ancient, older than language, and deeper than any grave. It stretches farther than sight can measure, but you don't need to see its bottom. You feel it. You feel the grief layered into it, like sediment. The wars, the curses, the bloodlines, the betrayals. Everything that ever pulled man away from his creator echoes inside this abyss. On one side, torment. Its scent clings to the air, sharp and bitter. The ground there is cracked with heatless flame. Shapes move in and out of visibility. Some hunched, some writhing, some sitting in silence so deep it's almost reverent. But it's not. It's the silence of resignation. No one screams. Screaming is for those who still think someone will hear. On the other side, rest. The kind of rest that isn't sleep, but stillness. Complete, consuming, earned. The place you just left behind. The place of the faithful. The place of those who waited without knowing when or how the promise would come. That side is quiet too, but the quiet hums with breath held in hope. And in between, a silence that has waited since Eden. It isn't just the absence of sound, it is the memory of every time a man or woman stood between two choices and stepped away from the light. It is the hush that fell the moment the first exile began, when flaming swords turned back the feet of the fallen, and the garden was sealed, and angels wept without tears. You look into the divide, and it looks back. It recognizes you. This is the silence you spoke into when the world was formed. This is the breach you came to heal. This is the canyon carved by free will and widened by every lie that claimed your father's mercy could be undone. You take a step closer to the edge, and the wind that isn't wind begins to stir. It comes from both sides at once, wailing and whispering, the faithful and the damned, pulled toward you by something older than gravity. A figure stirs on the far side. His face is not clear. His name has long been forgotten. He was powerful once, a prince in his world, maybe even worshipped. He sits now in the low red haze of torment, and he watches you, not with fury, with recognition, with memory. You were mentioned long ago, in temples, in scrolls, in the fearful mumblings of old priests who saw just enough to be afraid. He does not speak. He dares not. You stand between him and Abraham, between torment and rest, between agony and peace, between the kingdom that was lost and the kingdom you are about to open. You could speak now. You could raise your hand, part the abyss, level the floor, but you do not. Because this divide is not about geography. It is about truth. And truth cannot be bridged with command. It must be conquered. And you have. The abyss starts to shudder. Not crumble, not fall, but ripple. As if time itself is remembering something. The walls of Sheol do not break, but they lean. The old rules creak, like hinges soaked in oil. Because you're not here to destroy this place. You're here to rob it. From across the chasm, more faces gather. Some are twisted by rage, some by shame, some by pride that refuses to crack even under judgment. They do not beg, they do not kneel, but they watch. And in that watching is terror, because they know what's about to happen. They know who you are. And they know you didn't come to them. Your attention turns back to the ones behind you, the faithful, the waiting. They have lined up without needing to be asked. Some hold hands, some touch the garments of those they only heard about in life. Prophets beside shepherds, queens beside slaves. The dust of centuries brushed off as if it never mattered. You nod once, and the silence bends. Not breaks, not explodes. It bends around you. It forms a way, not a bridge, a release, a rupture in the rules, a pathway that wasn't there before. Not because it couldn't exist, but because no one was worthy to open it. Until now. The great divide does not close. It never does. But for the ones behind you, it no longer matters. The space between lost and found is no longer impassable. The wound is still there, but the scar begins to form. You take the first step, and they follow. They weren't ready for this. You've passed through the threshold, the one they said could never be breached, and now the lower corridors of the kingdom of death are beginning to unravel. Not with fire, not with explosions, but with something far worse: disorder. Hell was built on structure. Its torment is choreographed, precise. Every scream documented, every curse filed, every fallen soul tagged and shelved in some eternal registry no one above ever sees. There's nothing spontaneous here. It runs like a machine, or at least it did, until you showed up. Now the scribes don't know where to look. They scurry in the gloom with scorched scrolls under their arms and ash smudged on their faces, flipping through volumes that no longer make sense. The ink is bleeding. The margins are wrong. Names are missing, crossed out in glowing lines no one wrote. The files that once glowed with judgment are now dim. Pages once immutable now curl in heatless fire and crumble into black snow. A demon near the far wall mutters under his breath, not in a growl, but in a whisper so sharp it slices the air. This wasn't in the prophecy footnotes. Another slaps a crooked book shut, its spine cracking. He looks up, sees you, looks down again, pretending he didn't. You walk through the heart of their system like a man through his own vineyard. You don't shout, you don't gesture, but the floor straightens under your feet, and the walls lean away as if remembering their true architect. One of the ledgers catches fire, not from spark or torch, but from guilt. Its contents are wrong now. Your presence has retroactively rewritten entire sections of the underworld's accounting. The names of the faithful, once marked, pending judgment, have disappeared, not erased, redeemed. The curses tethered to their lineages, once wrapped around them like iron vines, snap and drop to the floor. No one knows where they go. No one dares ask. A creature near the back, more shadow than form, clutches a cracked tablet to its chest, eyes flicking from you to the hallway beyond. It inches backward, pressing itself into the wall as if it could vanish into it. You pass within feet of it. It flinches. You don't slow. Somewhere deeper, a gong sounds. Not a welcome bell. An alarm. It tolls in long, low waves, as if the architecture itself is mourning the end of its power. You reach what used to be a center, a circular station, surrounded by pillars carved with judgment so old, the language died before Moses was born. It's empty now. The judges fled when they heard your footstep. Even their thrones, once cold and silver black, are warm to the touch, left in haste. One is still spinning slightly. You don't sit. You look up. The ceiling is covered in names. Most still glow. Some do not. The dim ones are already gone, let out behind you through the chasm. The ones who waited in faith. The ones the system tried to hold just a little longer. But you came, and when you walked in, the authority shifted. They don't know what to call you here. Some of the older ones mutter, "the Son," but their mouths blister around the title. Others try, "the Nazarene," as if that small town could hold what you are. One whispers, "the Lamb," and is struck silent by the weight of it. None of them say, "King," but they all think it, because you walk like one. You don't destroy their desks. You don't torch their archives. You don't need to. Your presence is unraveling the place at the seams, and not in rage, in precision. Systems collapse. Illusions melt. Hierarchies crumble into irrelevance. They are left with nothing but their panic and their paperwork. One particularly old clerk leans against a filing wall, flipping through a scroll that rewrites itself as he reads it. His face is long, his eyes hollow from centuries of administrative pride. He tries to make sense of the text, but every time he reaches the section about the sacrifice, the ink runs. He stares at you. You stare back. He drops the scroll, and it bursts into dust. There is no scream, no final plea, just a long, quiet recognition. You have arrived, and they have no procedure for this. Behind you, the gates of the faithful creak open, not because they were forced, but because they've been waiting for the right key. And it's in your hand. The corridors behind the panicked clerks begin to darken, not with shadow, but with finality. Files flutter into nothing. Seals melt like wax in the presence of a higher signature. Names once written in chains now vanish into light. You don't gloat. You don't look back. You walk like you belong here, because you do. And somewhere far above, the stone on the tomb is still in place. But hell already knows. The body may be cold, but the kingdom is awake. He steps out from the stillness, quiet but steady, the weight of centuries wrapped in every fold of his robe. The others move aside, not with fear, but with reverence, as the one who once split a sea now crosses a threshold. Even he never dared to enter. His sandals make no sound. His face is older than flesh, worn not by age but by the long stretch of waiting. Moses, the man of fire and stone, the man who stood in the cleft of the rock and heard your voice thundering through cloud and flame, the man who once hid his face, trembling, because he could not look and live. Now he looks, and he lives. His eyes meet yours, and he doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. There is no need for explanation between you. You are not strangers. You've spoken before, on mountaintops, in tents of meeting, in winds that broke rocks, and whispers that mended hearts. You spoke through him, in him, and now you stand before him, not veiled in thunder, but wrapped in completion. He takes another step forward, and the ones behind him, prophets, priests, judges, wanderers, watch, with held breath. They all know who he is. But more importantly, they know what this moment means. He has waited for this longer than anyone here. The law he carried was written by your hand, etched into stone by the breath of holiness. He bore it down the mountain twice, his face shining with glory he couldn't hold. He led slaves through a sea and wandered with them into the mouth of promise, but never crossed in. He stood on Mount Nebo and saw the land, but not the fulfillment. Until now, he sees it in you. Not a strip of soil between two rivers, but the true promise, the thing behind the thing, the reason the tablets were written in the first place. You are the land. You are the law made flesh. And Moses understands. He doesn't fall to his knees. He doesn't bow low. He simply nods. Deep, slow, not in submission but in recognition. The kind of gesture shared between a servant who was faithful and the master whose voice once shook the bones of mountains. You nod back. That's enough. Nothing else is needed. Behind him, Joshua watches, hands curled tight at his sides. He remembers hearing that same voice from a burning bush, secondhand. He remembers the cloud, the fire, the trembling at the base of Sinai. Now he sees the source. Further back, Aaron looks on in silence. No breastplate on his chest, no bells on his robe. He was once high priest, but now he knows he was only ever a shadow. The true priest is standing before him, not with incense or sacrifice, but with the blood already poured. You step aside slightly, and Moses follows, not to lead this time, but to be led. The shepherd, who once guided a nation through wilderness, now walks behind the shepherd of souls, and it feels right. It feels full. A murmur rises behind him, not words, but movement. The faithful stir. Deborah, Eli, Gideon, Hannah. They step forward like morning light through a long night. The ones who never saw the temple completed, who held on to glimpses and fragments, now see the whole. They do not cry out. There is no shout, no chorus, but the air shifts. Their waiting is almost over. They can feel it. Something opening that no man ever opened. A passage not dug by hands, not wrenched by force, but carved by obedience. The veil between realms is thin now. You feel it in your ribs, in the memory of torn flesh and thunder swallowed on Golgotha. You feel it in your hand, where the keys still rest, warm, humming with authority. The gates have not opened yet, but they're listening. Listening for your footstep. Listening for the one who was promised, not just to one nation, but to all the forgotten. Moses walks beside you now, not ahead. He glances your way once, and something flickers in his eyes. Something between grief and joy. He understands what it cost. He understands it more than most. The lambs, the blood on doorposts, the sacrifices that never really cleansed, only pointed. Every ritual he ever enacted was a shadow of this moment. And now the lamb walks beside him, not slain, not broken, but alive. They move forward together. Behind them, the faithful begin to follow. You don't say, "Come." You don't need to. The invitation is written in the silence. It is written in the breath that returns to bones. It is written in the fact that Moses, the man of Sinai, the man who once begged to see your glory, is finally walking toward it. And the chasm behind you stays quiet, because it knows it cannot follow. The scroll rests where no hand has touched it in ages. It is not displayed, it is hidden, not out of shame, but reverence. Not because it is forbidden, but because it is too heavy for those who have not suffered. Angels have walked past it. They've seen the seal, felt the weight radiating from it like heat from a buried flame. None dared open it, not because they were weak, but because it wasn't theirs. It's yours. The chamber that holds it is quiet, not with fear, but anticipation. The scroll hums like a heartbeat. It isn't parchment. It isn't made of paper or skin or gold. It is made of waiting. Every fiber twisted from the breath of those who cried out but never saw the answer. Every inch soaked in the longing of souls who believed but died before the promise came. You step forward. The others wait behind you. Moses, David, Ruth, Samuel. Their voices are silent, but their presence presses close. They can feel what's inside it. Some of them know their names are written there. Others don't dare presume, but they hope. They've been hoping for so long. You reach down and touch the seal. It doesn't resist you. It falls away without a sound. The scroll unfurls slowly, and the air bends with it. No one breathes. Even the shadows shrink back to the corners. This is not a registry. It's a reckoning. There are no dates. No sins listed. Only names. Names written in a script not learned, but remembered. Names that once rose on battlefields and sank in prison cells. Names whispered in tents and shouted in deserts. Names drowned beneath floodwaters and buried beneath stone. Names the world forgot. But heaven didn't. You begin to read. You say the first name. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with authority. And as you speak it, something in the air cracks. A light ignites somewhere above. Not the fire of wrath, but the fire of recognition. That name, once lost, once choked out by bloodlines and silence, returns. Whole. The second name follows, and then the third. Each one you speak reshapes the air. The ground adjusts its posture. These are not just people. They are stories, promises, echoes of a covenant that refused to die. You read on. Some names tremble as you speak them, as if they didn't expect to be remembered. Others rise bold, full of their own prophecy. Some bring tears to the eyes of those behind you. When you speak the name of Elijah, he nods once, and the wind that once carried him stirs around his feet. You keep going. There are names no one in this place recognizes, but you do. The name of the woman who gave her last handful of flour. The name of the slave who stood by the river and cried out for deliverance no one ever saw. The name of the child who died with your father's name on his lips. Each one is a stone placed into the bridge between the waiting and the fulfilled. And the bridge is almost done. Behind you, the line begins to shift. The ones who waited the longest move forward slowly, each hearing their name like a bell rung across eternity. Some are silent as they pass. Others weep, hands to their faces, as if unsure their name was worthy of your breath. But it was. It always was. You speak the name of a warrior who fell in shame and was never buried. The name of a widow no one fed. The name of a mother who watched her children die and still whispered her prayers into the dust. And as you do, something deeper than Sheol begins to move. The system is breaking. Not violently. Not with rebellion. With fulfillment. This scroll was never meant to stay closed. It was always waiting for you. Not because you had to prove something, but because only you could say the names without forgetting what they cost. Because you were there for everyone. You speak the name of the thief who died beside you, the one who turned his head and said, "Remember me." And when you say his name, the walls of torment groan, not from grief, from envy. He is no longer on their side. He is in the line now, walking toward the light, steps steady, face up. You keep reading, and the scroll keeps unrolling. It has no end. Not because it is infinite, but because it is complete. There will be no need for more names here. This list ends when you say it ends. And that moment is near. You speak the name of the first blood spilled, Abel, and the room stills. Even the chains fall silent. Abel nods once, not with bitterness, but with peace. His brother's shadow is long gone now. Only the truth remains. You speak one final name, and the scroll closes itself. Not because it's over, but because the door is open now, and they're ready to walk through. The veil between waiting and arrival thins. It does not tear. It softens, like fog dissolving under morning light. What was once impassable now feels porous, like breath passing through parted lips. The faithful sense it first, not with their eyes, with their bones. The weight they've carried, the ache of delay, the silence of hope deferred. It begins to lift. You stand at the threshold, still and unshaking. Behind you, the scroll lies closed. In front of you, the gate remains shut, not because it is locked, but because it has been waiting for this exact moment. The way isn't open yet, but it's listening, and you are ready. The first one to move is Ruth. She does not wait for permission. She doesn't need it. She steps forward with that same quiet resolve that once led her through fields she didn't own, toward a God she barely knew, trusting that redemption was somehow real. Now she sees it in front of her, and she moves without hesitation. Behind her comes Isaiah. He walks slowly, hand over heart, eyes flicking up to the veil that now flickers like flame. The vision he once spoke in riddles, the servant he saw crushed and lifted. He sees the fulfillment now walking ahead of him, and his knees almost give, but he doesn't fall, he marches. Moses stands still for a moment longer, not in doubt, but in reverence. Then he moves, feet steady, posture upright, not as a leader, but as a follower. This is not his exodus to command. This is the true one, the one his own journey only hinted at. The shepherd is ahead, and Moses is content to walk behind. One by one, the faithful step into formation. They do not shout. There is no war cry. This is not an army. This is not a rebellion. This is a release. Joseph of Egypt walks with his brothers. Reuben and Levi on either side, silent now, the guilt long buried under grace. Beside them comes Hannah, whispering a psalm to herself, one hand on the shoulder of Samuel, who walks with eyes fixed on you. He once anointed kings. Now he follows one. The march is slow, not because of reluctance, but because of reverence. Every step is holy. Every footfall whispers something final to the realm they're leaving behind. From the depths, unseen watchers observe. They do not move. They do not speak. They know they are not welcome in this procession. Their time is over. Their lies are spent. The faithful do not look back. They do not even flinch. They move forward with the quiet assurance of those whose deliverance is already complete. You walk ahead of them, the shepherd, not driving them forward with commands, simply walking where they can now walk, because you walked here first. The keys at your side glow faintly, not as ornament, but as proof. The gates that once towered in this realm are now hollow frames. They cannot hold, they cannot threaten. They are waiting for your hand. Abraham walks beside Sarah. Their steps are in rhythm, their hands almost touching. He does not ask for a city anymore. He sees one ahead, not of stone, not of tents, but of presence. David hums under his breath, fingers tapping against the hilt of a sword he no longer needs. He does not sing, not yet, but the melody is there, coiled in his chest, ready to burst when the gates finally swing open. Rahab walks with her back straight and her head high. No one questions her place here. Her scarlet thread has been rewoven into the very fabric of redemption, and she walks like someone who knows it. The procession continues. It stretches back farther than the eye can follow, past kings and peasants, warriors and widows, slaves and shepherds. Every soul in step has been touched by promise. Some were torn from this world in violence. Others slipped away in silence. All of them believed. And now they follow the one who crossed the great divide and came to lead them out. Above, the tomb still holds your body. But here, your spirit leads your first exodus. You reach the gate. It towers high, rusted from centuries of disuse. Not by rain, but by waiting. It does not creak. It does not resist. It begins to swing open the moment your shadow falls across it. The hinges moan softly, like chains remembering how to break. Behind you, the faithful pause. You turn once, not to command, just to meet their eyes. It's time, and without another word, the procession steps into the light. They watch from the dark, pressed to the far edges of what was once their kingdom. The ones who do not march, the ones who cannot. Their eyes flicker like dying embers, their mouths twitch with old habits, bargaining, spitting, weeping, snarling, but nothing comes out right anymore. The air has changed, and they can feel it choking them. Some fall to their knees, fingers clawing at ash, not in worship, in desperation, in hunger. They cry out not for forgiveness, but for reversal. They want time turned back. They want the cross undone. They want the flood unflooded, the garden unguarded, the serpent uncrushed. But time doesn't move for them anymore. Not forward, not back, just stillness. You walk. They see you. They know who you are. Some hiss your name like it burns their tongues. Others whisper it like they're not sure if saying it counts as surrender. None of them move toward you. They can't. It's not a force field. It's not a sword. It's something simpler. You have nothing for them now. Not because you're cruel, because they chose to be outside the story. They wrote themselves out long ago, not with sins, but with stubbornness. One figure steps forward. Just one step. His face is half ash, half memory. You knew him once, long ago, before the flood and the towers and the golden calves. He still carries the pride in his shoulders, but it sags now, worn thin from centuries of echoing his own name. He doesn't speak. He just watches you. You don't stop. You don't even glance, because this isn't his day. Another voice, gravelly, shriveled by bitterness, rasps something about a mistake, a miscalculation, as if that's all this ever was, a bad bet, a roll of dice gone wrong. His laughter, brittle and panicked, rings off the walls, trying to find something to grip, but there's nothing left to hold. You pass him too. Your eyes don't break focus. Not out of coldness, but completion. The time for warnings is over. The work is finished. And this moment, this silent, stinging moment, is not for them. The damned were never barred from you by chains. They simply never wanted you without strings. And now the strings are gone. So are their chances. One of them claws at the ground, as if digging will change gravity. He howls a name, his own, not yours. Still trying to declare himself as something. Still thinking identity is volume. It isn't. It never was. And down here, it doesn't echo anymore. The ones who curse you use old words, ancient spells twisted into invocations of contempt. They used to sound impressive, back when they ruled with fear, back when they thought fear was power. But now, it just sounds like wind through broken teeth. The ones who beg use newer tricks. A child's whimper, a lover's plea, a victim's voice. But you don't slow, because you know their eyes. They're rehearsing emotion, not feeling it. Their regret is theatrical, hollow, too late. The light from the open gate stretches into their realm like a sword drawn slow across a table. It cuts through the edges of their domain, but they can't reach it. Not because it's too far, because it's too final. They retreat from it, shrinking into cracks, behind pillars of smoke and half-formed memories. Their forms flicker. First men, then beasts, then shadows. None of them hold. They're losing shape, losing the right to be seen. Some of them simply watch, silent, eyes rimmed with the dust of centuries. They gave up long ago, and now they just wait for what comes next. They do not cry out. They do not plead. They've grown used to their exile. They wear it like skin. But even they tremble, because something about this is different. They've seen kings rise and fall. They've watched prophets bleed. They heard the whispers when you were born. They laughed when you were nailed. But they never saw this coming. You, here, not as a captive, not as a conqueror, just true, finished, unshaken, and walking straight through. The trembling spreads behind you like a fever, not from the ground, from inside them. Something in their design, some leftover memory of light, still recognizes the shepherd's presence. And it knows. The story has turned. The page has been written. And they are not on the next one. Still, they watch. Because deep down, even in their ruin, they cannot look away. Because you didn't come to explain. You came to end it. You never stop walking. And you never look back. It starts as a pressure. Not thunder, not sound. Just a tension in the soil above, like breath held too long. Every root in the ground pauses. Every stone feels suddenly too light. The crust of the world has remembered something. Or maybe it's being reminded. Above you, a grave sighs. Then another. You feel it through your steps. Soft vibrations that don't belong to this realm, but the one just ahead. The tombs are listening. They don't know why. But something is changing, and the dead can feel it. A crack splits the silence. Not below. Above. The crust of a hillside fractures just a hairline, just a whisper. It shouldn't matter, but it does. Because that hill carries a grave. And that grave is emptying itself already, just from the scent of what's coming. Another crack. This time in stone. One of the old tombs, sealed centuries before Rome ever named itself, rattles on its hinges. The air inside has gone stale from waiting, but it moves now, like breath warming the lungs of something ancient. Bones shift, not with violence, with memory. The earth doesn't know resurrection. Not like this. It knows decay. It knows return to dust. It knows the weight of death pressing downward. But now it feels a pull in the other direction. And that confuses it. You keep walking. Not above, not yet, below. But even here, in the deep, you feel it. A current rising, as if gravity is second-guessing itself. Somewhere beneath Golgotha, the rocks begin to sweat. The tomb that holds your body is still, but not still enough. The linen inside is softening, loosening its grip. The shroud has lost its hold. The air is changing temperature. Outside the tomb, the guard shifts in his armor. He doesn't know why he feels uneasy. He blames the dark, the night watch, the silence. But it's not silence anymore. Not really. There's a hum in the stone, a vibration in the cracks, the kind of noise you feel before you hear. And the earth doesn't like not knowing who's in charge, because something is waking. It's not just your own grave. Others too. Old ones. Bones that were settled, now unsettled. Soil that was firm, now quivering. Graves in Jerusalem, graves beyond. They're rattling. They're listening. They're wondering if death has been evicted. In the deep, you pause. Not out of weariness, but because you feel it too. Something has turned. Time itself, maybe. Not backward, not forward, upward. And everything above can feel the pull. One of the old prophets, the one who spoke about dry bones, glances at you from the procession. He doesn't say it aloud, but you already know. He feels it too. The bones he once saw rising, they were a vision. Now, they're an echo, because above you, the crust of history is about to break. You walk on. Graves continue to stir. A widow's son, buried in haste, clenches a hand that hasn't moved in years. Somewhere near Jericho, a child buried too young draws breath in the womb of stone and doesn't yet know why. It isn't loud. None of this is loud. Not yet. It's deeper than sound. It's pressure. Memory. The memory of dust being once shaped by breath, and the quiet ache of that dust wanting to remember what it felt like to be alive. Somewhere a crypt exhales. A dove, nesting in the cracks above a tomb, flutters once and lifts off. It doesn't know why, but something is shifting. Even the sky darkens, not from storm, but from reverence. You don't stop. The path winds upward now, not sharply, just enough for the air to thin. The crowd behind you follows with the same silence, but there's a new kind of gravity at work, not pulling them down, pulling them forward. The tombs above continue to rattle, and the demons below start to notice. They don't understand it. This wasn't in their schemes. They knew about death. They knew how to keep it. They'd guarded tombs with fear, with lies, with religion, but they never prepared for a return. Now they feel the crust between realms begin to thin, and they panic, because what rises now cannot be stopped. And you, still walking, still silent, carry the authority that makes the crust tremble. You do not rush. You do not shout. You just keep moving. And above, the stones begin to shift. It begins at the top, not the bottom, where men could reach, but the peak, the part no priest could touch. The veil in the temple, thick as a man's hand, woven with generations of reverence and terror, sighs once, as if exhaling centuries of tension. Then it tears, not like paper, like judgment. From heaven downward, the fibers scream apart. No blade touches it, No hand pulls it. It opens because it must, because the presence it once concealed has stepped beyond it, forever. The priests inside the temple hear it first. A rip, a thunder, a sound that doesn't belong in stone. They look up and freeze. One drops his incense bowl. Another stumbles backward, mouth open, eyes full of terror. They weren't trained for this. They were trained for tradition, for routine, for standing at the threshold and stopping. Always stopping. Always staying on the proper side of holiness. But now, there is no side. There is no curtain. The room is one. The inner sanctum, the Holy of Holies, stares them in the face, open, bared, breathing. The ark is gone, of course. Has been for centuries. But the space remains, a void that held terror. And now it holds invitation. Stillness falls over the temple like a fog. No one moves. No one dares speak. Because something sacred has been rewritten, not erased, fulfilled. The veil was never meant to be permanent. It was always a mercy, a boundary drawn to protect the broken from the blaze. But now, the blaze has taken flesh, and that flesh has finished the work. So the veil splits. Elsewhere in the city, no one knows what it means yet. The Roman centurion at the cross saw the sky darken, felt the ground tremble, heard the final cry that didn't sound like surrender, but like authority. He whispered, "Surely this was the Son of God." But even he doesn't know about the veil. Not yet. A merchant further down the street clutches his wares as the earth shivers again. He curses the aftershock. He doesn't understand what's been broken above him or below. But heaven understands. Heaven has been waiting for this since Eden. The angels don't cheer. They bow. They remember the first curtain, the one drawn across the garden gates after the fall. They remember the flaming sword, the blocked way, the exile. They remember every generation who longed for return but could never find the path. Until now. Now, the sword is gone. The curtain is torn. The way is open. Not just into the temple, into presence, into God. The veil was never about keeping him in. It was about keeping us alive. But now, the one who made the veil has walked through blood and grave and hell and made a new and living way. Heaven feels the shift ripple through creation. The throne room holds its breath, not out of fear, out of awe, because the unthinkable has happened. God bled, God died, and God did not fail. He passed through the silence, through the veil, through the curse, and now the separation is finished. You walk beneath that same torn sky, far below the city, leading your procession through the realms of shadow. But the sound has reached even here. The tearing, the unveiling, the exposed holiness. The watchers in their chains flinch, not because of light, but because of what the light means. Access. They hear it echo. Not just judgment, but invitation. You say nothing. You don't need to. The torn veil says it all. Above, a young priest trembles at the edge of the curtain's remains. He looks into the Holy of Holies and expects to fall dead. That's what they always said would happen. No man can see God and live. But he doesn't die. He sees only empty space and a feeling he can't describe. For the first time, he feels watched, not in wrath, but in welcome. And he cries. Somewhere in a hidden room, old scrolls rattle in their tubes. The words inside have always pointed forward, but no one saw it clearly. Now they shimmer like kindling. The veil has changed everything. In a home not far from the temple, a curtain sways in the wind. A woman holds her breath. She doesn't know why her heart aches. She doesn't know her son is the one who just walked through the veil of death and into victory. She only knows that something has ended and something else has begun. The world doesn't understand yet, but heaven does. And so do you. The veil is gone. There will be no replacement, no patch, no repair, because what separated has been reconciled, not by force, by blood, by sacrifice, by love. You walk on. Behind you, the saints follow. Ahead of you, the graves tremble. Above you, the temple stands in silence, and everything holy now has a door. You rise, not quickly, not slowly, but with a weightless certainty that ignores the rules of dust and decay. Time folds beneath you. Space forgets how to resist. You are no longer walking. You are being drawn, pulled upward, not by light, not by gravity, but by fulfillment. The path ahead is not made of stone or sky. It is made of obedience, of prophecy come due. Around you, dimensions ripple and part. They are not places, they are thresholds, histories, boundaries long respected and never crossed, until now. You pass through them the way flame passes through oil, unstopped, unaltered. Each veil of reality yields before you, bending inward like petals toward the heat of a sun they had only imagined until now. The stars above do not notice, but the thrones do. The first to see you are not the proud. They are not permitted. The first are the low ones, the watchers, the servants, the silent messengers who never left their posts, never fell, never touched power without trembling. They see you, and they do not sing. They kneel, not from fear, but awe. They know what this means. They know who passes through them now. You are not simply returning. You are not arriving from conquest. You are returning from descent, from death, from silence, and that no being has ever done. The gate is ahead. It isn't built. It isn't carved. It is the eternal gate, the place where all creation was once imagined before time began to count, stands not in space, but in sovereignty. It doesn't swing. It yields to you. Before it opens, the host assembles, not with trumpet, with breath held. Multitudes upon multitudes, eyes like flame, robes like wind, wings that shimmer with histories too ancient for human calendars. They wait, not to test you, not to question, but to witness, because this moment has never happened before, and it will never happen again. The Son, returning not just as Word, but as Redeemer. You pause at the threshold, not for permission, for recognition. The gate opens. No hinges, no sound, just release. The kingdom breathes out in welcome, and all of heaven remembers who you are. Not just the image, not just the voice, but the Lamb, the slain, the risen. You step forward, and the angels kneel again, this time lower, their heads bowed so deep, the brilliance of your passage brushes their backs like firelight grazing parchment. They cannot look, not because it would burn them, but because they are overwhelmed. You are still wearing the wounds. You did not shed them. The marks in your hands, the side, the brow, they remain, not as damage, as trophies, proof of what heaven never saw before, humility wrapped in glory, suffering draped in dominion. You carry no sword. You do not need one. The war is over. The victor bleeds, and the bleeding is beautiful. Behind you, the redeemed rise like a tide of memory made flesh. They follow silently, stunned by the magnitude of the moment. Some weep, some stare wide-eyed. Abraham, Ruth, the thief, David, Daniel, the ones who waited, the ones who believed without seeing. Now they see. Now they walk behind the promise himself, and the gate remains open, because you left it that way. You did not return as a son seeking shelter. You return as the one who built the house, the foundations tremble, not from instability, but from reverence, and the throne room prepares itself. The cherubim lower their wings. The seraphim quiet their chant. Even the elders, those who once cast down their crowns, now lay their silence before your feet. You do not speak. There are no announcements, no declarations, only presence. You were dead, and now you are not. And that changes everything. You pass the threshold. Heaven bows. The veil is torn. The tomb is rattling. And the gate is still open. It is quiet here, not the silence of absence, but of reverence. A stillness so deep it bends time. This is not a place, not like the tabernacle in the wilderness or the gold-stained echo chamber of Herod's temple. This sanctuary was never built. It was never measured, never quarried, never stitched with thread or stone or cedar. It has always been the true sanctuary, invisible to flesh, untouched by fire, higher than angels dared to dream. The priests of earth knew only a shadow of this, a pattern, a copy. They saw through veils. They approached trembling, bearing blood that could only stall the curse, not break it. Their offerings stained the altar and dried there. Reminders, not remedies. But you do not bring the blood of another. You bring your own. You step forward, not carried, not escorted. You walk as high priest and offering both. No bells on your robe, no smoke to hide you, no golden censer swinging before your path. Only wounds, only will, only the terrible beauty of what you just endured. Behind you, the heavens are still hushed. Not one angel dares speak, because they see what you carry. The blood is not smeared in fear. It's not flicked from a trembling hyssop branch. It's not offered with disclaimers. You do not apologize for it. You hold it without shame. It is not a symbol. It is not a ritual. It is justice. It is mercy. It is final. The veil in this place does not tear. It never existed. There is no barrier between you and the mercy seat. You approach, not with trembling, but with intention. You walk between the blazing glory of a realm that has never known sin, and you do not flinch, because your blood has made it possible. You reach the altar, not golden, not cold. It is alive. It receives not because it must, but because it was waiting. You let the blood fall, one drop, then another, not because heaven demands it, but because love finishes what it starts. The drops hit the altar like thunder, not loud, just irreversible. The sanctuary breathes. It had waited too long for this moment. The cherubim that once guarded Eden now bow low, not in grief, but in awe. They see not the one who walked with Adam, but the one who wore Adam's curse and broke it. You do not speak. The blood speaks. Not guilt, not wrath, not vengeance, but completion. The stain of it spreads like revelation, not messy, not chaotic, like prophecy fulfilling itself, silently, sentence by sentence, across the history of the cosmos. The altar absorbs it, and the sanctuary responds, not with earthquake, not with trumpet, but with rest. A rest so profound the stars slow in their spinning, a hush so final it trembles with peace. There is no more offering to be made, no more blood to be shed, no more groaning beneath the weight of sin unatoned. This is the end of sacrifice. You step back, but you are not leaving. You remain, not in presence alone, but in permanence. This place, this real Holy of Holies, is no longer only a throne room. It is now a testimony. That flesh can enter. That wounds can be healed. That love does not stay outside the curtain. Somewhere, Back on earth, the tomb waits. Your body still, your burial linen already loosening its grip, the stone still sealed. But the ground is warm now. The cold is leaking out, because something above time has just been completed, and what is finished there echoes back into the soil. The true sanctuary watches you, not with suspicion, but devotion. It knows who you are, not just son, not just lamb, but intercessor. No more goats, no more bulls, no more blood on borrowed altars. You brought the real offering. You brought yourself, and you were not consumed. The flames here do not burn you. They recognize you. You are the only one who could ever walk into this fire and make it home. You turn, not to leave, but to welcome what comes next. Because now that the sacrifice has been received, resurrection is no longer a question. It's a countdown. There is no table here, no hearth, no bronze altar crusted with ash and regret. The offerings brought by men were many, and they were never enough. Lambs led without understanding, grain torn from earth and ground beneath stones. Blood, always blood, spilled to delay wrath, to buy another season, to hold back judgment with trembling hands. But now you stand in the center of it all, between justice and mercy, between the shadow and the real, and you bring no substitute. You are the offering. There is no scapegoat to send into the wilderness, no heifer to burn outside the camp. The wilderness has already swallowed you, the camp has already cast you out, and still you are here. You do not flinch. You do not bargain. You lay yourself down, not in death. You've already done that. This is something different. This is surrender from a place of power, submission, without defeat. A final flawless offering, not made from guilt, but from love, sharpened into will. Heaven holds its breath, because justice has never seen this before. Not from angels, not from Adam. This is new. You lie still, but you are not lifeless. You do not plead. You do not explain. You simply are. The perfect intersection of wrath endured and love unbroken. The wounds in your hands still speak, but not of pain. They speak of access. They speak of finality. You do not cry out, because there's nothing left to ask. It is finished, but now it must be sealed. The weight of all sin, every theft, every betrayal, every violation of the image of God, presses like gravity across this moment. It wants to drag everything down, to bury it, to say, still not enough. But it can't, because this time, justice does not blink. Justice does not demand more. For the first time since Eden, justice looks upon an offering and says, enough. The voice is not loud, but it is unmistakable. It doesn't sound like thunder. It sounds like peace, and it breaks something that never should have lasted this long. The wall, the curse, the old accusation whispered since the garden, you will never be clean. That voice dies here, because the offering has been accepted, not reluctantly, not barely, completely. The room itself, the true sanctuary, the throne at the heart of all holiness, responds. It tightens like a held breath, then exhales. The release rolls backward through the centuries, into every burnt offering that never fully worked, every priest who stood shaking behind curtains, every sinner who wept outside the gate. All of it finds its answer in this single surrender. Your body remains still, but your spirit pulses with promise. The wrath is past. The debt has been cleared. No more altars. No more blood. No more distance between the giver and the given. Somewhere below, the tomb shifts. The stone guarding your body vibrates faintly, unsure why. The guards outside it stare into the fading stars, their hearts suddenly cold, their palms sweating for no reason they can name. Something is coming. Not war, not fire, but return. Above you, the hosts of heaven begin to rise, not in defense, in reverence, because the law no longer groans under unmet obedience. The prophets no longer cry for a future they cannot reach. The psalms no longer ache for deliverance. It is here. It has been offered, and it has been accepted. You do not rise yet. There is no rush. When eternity says yes, there is no hurry. You linger, not out of weakness, but out of completeness, letting the weight of every fulfilled promise settle into the foundation of the universe, letting every spiritual power, seen and unseen, feel the shift in the center of everything they thought they understood. The advocate is now the sacrifice. The shepherd is now the gate. The word is now the blood, and it is enough. In the true sanctuary, there is no applause, only presence, only stillness. The kind of stillness that comes after the storm, when even the wind knows it is time to kneel. Justice watches you, and for the first time in all creation, it smiles. It is still dark, not just outside, but beneath, in the marrow of things, in the hush between breaths, in the cold silence where time has not yet remembered to move. The women have not stirred from their mourning. The guards lean on their spears, slack-jawed, unaware. The earth itself lies breathless, unaware that something buried is not staying buried. And in the deep, something lets go. Death, once proud, once certain, now trembles. Not loudly, not in panic, just a slow spreading dread, like ink bleeding through parchment. It senses what is coming before it can name it. The weight it once clung to, the right to keep you, is slipping. The tomb that swallowed you was sure it could digest you. But you are not food. You are fire. And the grave knows it now. Inside the tomb, your body lies still. But stillness is no longer surrender. The linen wraps no longer cling like prison bars. They relax, slacken, loosen. Not by magic, not by force, but because they understand. You are not theirs. You were never theirs. You entered willingly, but you do not remain by permission. The stone stands firm, yes, but the authority behind it is crumbling. Death inspects its own walls and finds cracks. The authority it borrowed, the power it claimed over every bloodline, every grave, every soul, is being revoked. Not by angels, not by war, but by something worse, something final, completion. Your work is finished. And that means death's is too. Its hands, to long fingers grasping the edges of history, can no longer hold you. Its breath, once icy in the ears of prophets and priests and kings, now catches in its throat. It tries to whisper accusations, but they fall dead before they reach you. Because you paid for everything. There's nothing left to accuse. You do not rise in fury. You do not break the chains. You let them fall, because they were already broken in the moment justice said, enough. The grave cannot argue with that. It cannot renegotiate. It has no second contract. The terms were fulfilled. The blood was accepted. And now the door must open. It does not want to. The stone does not roll by accident, but it is already losing the right to resist. The angels assigned to roll it back have not yet touched it, but death can already hear them coming. It panics now, not like a beast, but like a debtor at the door of a cleared account. There is nothing to say, no appeal to make. Its one remaining hope, that you might stay quiet, might stay still, might stay dead, fades like frost in the first light. Because now, Light is returning. Not to the sky. Not yet. To you. Your spirit stirs. Not as a ghost, not as a shade, but as breath made holy, as glory rebuilt, as life that has never bowed to decay. You inhale, not air, not dust, but victory, slow, certain, eternal. And with that breath, the balance of all things changes. The veil was already torn, the offering already received. But this moment, this is the answer to every funeral. This is the answer to every tomb. This is the quiet undoing of 1,000 years of despair. The linens fall completely now. The skin beneath them is whole. Not untouched, but undefeated. The wounds remain. Not bleeding, not broken, just true. You rise, not in a rush, not in fear, just upright, alive, decided. And death feels it, feels the center of its empire fracture. It claws at the dirt. It screams into the dark. But the dark is leaving. Light is coming, and death has no weapon left. You were the one thing it should never have touched. And now, it will never touch you again. The stone begins to move, but you are already beyond it. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for the dawn. The dawn is waiting for you. The world still sleeps, but not for long. The women still cry, but not for long. The guards still sleep, but not for long. And somewhere, far below where the living walk and the dead sleep, death sits alone and realizes what it has lost. Everything. You are not leaving the tomb. You are taking it with you. Its power, its silence, its grip, all of it. You will hollow it out from the inside and leave it empty forever.